Well, we're just out of the Immigration Act 2014 workshop here at the Landlords and Lettings show, and I'm joined by one of the panellists, Sally from Concentric Letting. So welcome, Sally, good to see you again.
Thank you, Vanessa, I was pleased to be here.
Yes, very interesting discussion. Just first of all, what really is your overview of the Immigration Act leading to right to rent?
Okay, I think it's a very interesting legislation that's come in, and it's going to affect so many people in many, many ways. I'm personally not too concerned about it because I feel that good landlords and letting agents should be doing a lot of very similar checks anyway. I mean, if you're creating a tenancy with someone, you need to make sure you've got their passport or photographic ID to know that the person you're signing a tenancy with is actually that person. So any good letting agent landlord should be doing partial checks anyway. So what this is doing is it's taking it the next step, which is making sure that that passport is not a forgery, that the person now has a right to rent in the UK, and checking the immigration. So yes, it is a change. Yes, it is more work. It is going to involve us as landlords and letting agents educating ourselves, understanding what we're looking for, and making sure we have those things in place. But what I'm encouraged by is that the Home Office is currently saying that as long as we have taken all reasonable steps, we are not expected to be experts. And I take a certain comfort in that because there's been a lot of conversation about how will we know, how will we know? Well, obviously the simple things, you know, if you're looking at a passport and the person on the photo is 65 and the date of birth says 21 years ago, there's simple things. But I think we all need to really work on educating ourselves, and rather than just saying, oh, I've got a passport, that's enough, that's not enough anymore. And so I think it's just like when the gas regs came out in the 90s and we were like, well, what's a gas cert? What does it look like? We had to learn what a gas cert was and what it looked like and what we were looking for. We're all going to have to do the same here. And obviously the ongoing checks and making sure that every 12 months we check on a follow-up basis. There's going to be some issues there, so that's going to be fun.
They'll come out in the wash, I think, as the trial goes through. But in a way, I think it changes the relationship between the landlord and the letting agent, because we as landlords can divest ourselves of the responsibility of doing the immigration checks. As a letting agent, how do you feel about taking on that responsibility? If you get it wrong, you could be fined £3,000.
Well, I think it's interesting. They've actually said the letting agent is responsible, and they have quite clearly said the person that creates the tenancy or is responsible for the tenancy is responsible for the immigration checks. Personally, again, as I said before, you know, because we do a lot of these checks anyway, I'm not too concerned about it, but I know there will be a lot of people that will fall foul of this. So it is going to start separating the wheat from the chaff. So I really would urge all letting agents to really get yourselves switched on. Don't think this doesn't apply to me. Don't think, oh, I'll just put it in my terms and conditions, it's the landlord's responsibility. That's not enough. We need to make sure it's clear in the terms where our liabilities lie. We know exactly what we're going to do. We do spot checks on our staff and make sure they're doing it, and really take this serious. The fines are heavy, and remember, it's not only who's on the tenancy agreement, it's the people that are in the property. So I think something that wasn't discussed today was the importance of inspection visits. Because this is something that quite often as letting agents we get asked by landlords not to do. And this is going to become really a big thing now, that we should be insisting as landlords and letting agents that we check a property every year, certainly, you know, before that renewal date, because if you go there and find, you know, you've got 26 people living in your house and you don't know who they are, we need to know about that, because it wouldn't, I don't think from what they're saying, it wouldn't be a defence to say, oh, I didn't go round.
Thank you very much for raising that point, actually. That is a very, very valid point. And I think, just to finish, there's a certain amount of apathy in landlords, to my mind, because we're all here concerned about this issue, but in fact in the greater landlord consciousness I don't think it's really arrived, and we as a community are going to have to work together to spread these messages as well, aren't we?
Absolutely, and I agree with you. There is I mean, I would describe it a little bit a scared rabbit in headlights. I mean, the immigration seminars we've been running as ALA, you know, they're there, they're attending, and they're petrified, but they're petrified because I think they've not really read into it or looked into it yet, and it's that fear of the unknown is the big problem. And as I say again, we need to educate ourselves. We either need to look to solutions externally and internally, or we need to really educate ourselves and get switched onto it and make it happen throughout our organisations to protect ourselves. Because yes, the fines are pretty heavy. If you've got 26 people in your house and it's either £1,000 or £3,000 per person, that's a lot of money.
But my concern, Sally, is, as I mentioned in the seminar, is that it's only going to have an effect on people if those penalties are enforced. because it's the rogues that are really going to just slip under the radar as usual, not take any notice of this legislation. And if it's not enforced and they're not set examples of by being fined, then it's just going to make a mockery of the whole thing, in my opinion.
And I thought that was a brilliant question, and you're absolutely right. Obviously, the rogue landlords are going to be ignoring this. The rogue letting agents are not going to be getting involved in it. They're going to be just sweeping under the carpet. But what I'm really comforted by in the immigration seminar I attended on Monday was that the immigration office really works heavily on intelligence. And they said they get so much of their intelligence from traffic police, from social services, from the police, and these rogue landlords can't hide. Because you may be thinking, well, I've done my bit, they're not going to come and check me. But if that person gets stopped on the side of the road by traffic police, or if they get stopped for fraudulent benefit claims, and this investigation goes further, that landlord will get done. So I think this is a good way to actually sift out the good from the bad. There is no hiding place.
Well, on that note, I think it's interesting times ahead, and thank you very much for your contribution to this immigration debate that we're going to continue on property tribes over the coming months, because I think there's a lot more to come out from this. And thanks very much, Sally, for sharing your views.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.